it should be noted also that North Carolina was never fully covered. Despite the Wilmington riots, despite all the discrimination in Southeast, much of Southeastern North Carolina was never covered. And years ago, we argued that the whole state should have been covered because there was a history of discrimination, and yet 40 counties were. Right now, we know that if it moves as forward, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, and some say perhaps South Carolina, even though right now South Carolina's out, Mississippi would only be in until December 1st, 2015. In addition to having North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, all of those states would no longer be covered initially under pre-clearance along with others. Voter ID, which the federal courts are dealing with quite stringently now, would not, even if a state was found, and this is the point, even if the state was found in violation of the Constitution in the enactment of a voter ID law, that ruling, Chairman Pierce, would still not trigger North Carolina or any other state from being covered. This rolling trigger is deeply concerning. It should not be lost on us that states could already bail out under the old formula. They just had to be clean for 10 years. And no state in the South was able to maintain a clean slate when it came to vote for 10 years. So states have always had the ability not to be covered under the Voting Rights Act. The way you could not be covered was to stop engaging in voter suppression. And no state was able to do that for a consistent period of time. If Section 4 was in place as it was before Shelby, this is critical for the media to understand, every law we're in court now fighting would have had to be pre-cleared. So we probably wouldn't be in court because most of the laws would not have met the muster and the test of a constitution, of the review of the Voting Act. If Section 5 and 4 were in place as it was prior to the Shelby decision, we could ask for a pre-clearance on the governor's decision regarding the Congressional District 12. But without pre-clearance, then it puts all the burden on us as advocates to do litigation after the fact, and it allows laws to go into place that even if you prove later on they were discriminatory, those laws will have been used to both elect people who then will set policy. And a vote is like a sunrise. You may get another one, but you cannot get back the one you lost. And to suggest that in North Carolina, where we were the first state, not the second, third, but the first state to pass the most restrictive voter suppression law in the country after Shelby, to suggest that there's not enough discrimination in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and Alabama to ensure that those states have to be pre-cleared before they can enact law is ludicrous, and it does not fit the empirical data, and it actually is the antithesis of what we know through history. Ruth Bader Ginsburg said to gut the Voting Rights Act, Supreme Court Justice, is like taking away somebody's umbrella because they're in the rain not getting wet. We still need the voting rights. And Democrats and Republicans should be concerned about legislation that removes pre-clearance, because it means whoever's in power, Democrats or Republicans, could pass voter suppression laws, and those laws would not have to be pre-cleared before they were enacted. And any person, Democrat or Republican, that would sign off on a new piece of legislation in the Congress that removes Alabama and North Carolina and Virginia and South Carolina from pre-clearance becomes an accessory to any laws that are passed in the future that undermines people's right to vote. So, Mr. Chairman, what I brought today was the NAACP's principle. We actually passed and voted unanimously on principles for the strong restoration of the Voting Rights Act. And we too say that this law, this proposed law, must be strengthened and amended. It must be strengthened and amended. And we cannot support any law that leaves out states like North Carolina, South Carolina, and Alabama from